Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our Kwento Tayo session, and this will be with starters of the Filipino curriculum. So my name is Charlene. I am the community manager for KASAMAHAN ko, and I use she/her pronouns. So we will be asking everyone if we could describe ourselves in a Filipino food. What would it be, and why?
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I am going into my junior year at Punahou School. The dish that I would use to describe myself would definitely be lumpia, because that is my favorite Filipino dish, and we all love eating lumpia together. I think because there's so many little ingredients in a lumpia roll that just makes up a lumpia, so that's what I would choose.
Okay, so hi, my name is Caitlyn Agnes. I graduated Coupler High School this past year, and I'll be going to Temple University in Pennsylvania. My pronouns are she and her, and my favorite Filipino dish is, I think, kare kare, because it has peanut butter, which is like a sweet thing, but then kare kare is like a savory thing, and it's kind of cool. Like, it's such a unique dish. So yeah. Okay, so I'll pass it to.
Hi, I'm Jalen Espejo. I am an upcoming senior at Farrington High School. My pronouns are he and his. Um, if you could describe yourself as a Filipino food. Okay, my favorite Filipino food or dessert actually is halo halo. Wherein, halo halo is like everything like combined and with milk. So it's like a really, really sweet dish. But even though it's really sweet, there's some other components in it wherein it's different and unique in its own way. So yeah. I'm passing it down to Myan.
Hi guys, my name is Halimi Onamayam. I'm an upcoming senior in Copley High School. My pronouns are he, him. And one dish I could describe myself would be adobo, because it's my favorite. One of first and foremost my favorite. It's an iconic dish for the Filipino culture, and you could do anything with it. And yeah, thank you. Oh, and I'm passing it on to Raymart.
Magandang gabi, everyone. My name is Raymart and I just graduated from Moipao High School, and I'm heading to UH West Oahu this fall, and I haven't given so much thoughts about my pronouns yet, but um, my favorite dish, if I were a dish, I would describe myself like a turon, I guess, because I don't know. Whenever I see like turon, I'm just like, whoa, I like that, and say, so yeah, I'm passing it to Kailee.
Hello, I'm Kailee Trias. You can call me Kai. My pronouns are she, her, sometimes they, them, doesn't really matter. And I guess my favorite Filipino food or actually dessert would be karaoke, because I kind of grew up with that with my grandma. She would always make it. And I've always loved the sweetness of the brown sugar syrup and the crispiness of the outside of the mochi ball, and then how soft it can get on the inside. And I just feel like that kind of like the texture of it kind of fits my personality in a way, because I like to be soft. But yeah, I'll be passing it to Blaine.
Hi, my name is Blaine Becerra. I'm going to be in upcoming junior at Copley High School. My pronouns are he, him, and if I were to describe myself in one with one Filipino dish, I would choose adobo, because that's always been one of my favorite Filipino dishes, and it always comforts me, and I feel like um, I'm in the Philippines whenever my parents cook it. So yeah, and I pass it on to Lauren.
Hi, my name is Lauren Watsurita. I'm an incoming junior at Kapolei High School. My pronouns are she, her, and if I were to describe myself as a Filipino food, I think it would be pancit. it's like a classic, but I think everyone has their own special twist on it or their own special recipe. And I feel like that's not just specifically me, but everyone. We're all the same, but we're so different.
So thank you all for answering our icebreaker question. I realized that I didn't answer the question, so I would also describe myself as a lumpia, um, for the reasons that Marissa shared. But it's also essential for family gatherings, of course, and it actually resembles a little bit of my family history because historically the lumpia was brought to the Philippines and Southeast Asia from the region of China, in which my other part of the family is from. So a lot of different cultural elements there. So yeah, let's move on to the questions that we have for you. So first off, we wanted to ask each of you how you understand your Filipino culture and identity.
I'll go first. My whole journey with accepting and loving my culture and my ethnic identity has been such an adventure for me because growing up I did have a sense of pride being Filipino, but I feel like it still wasn't as prideful as it could have been. Like I've definitely felt different from other people because the schools that I've gone to didn't really have that many Filipinos. So I I had to find my pride inside of myself. And I think this whole curriculum experience for me has definitely, and I think I speak for everyone too, it's really been such a unique experience for us that we've all gotten so much out of because we're advocating for our culture and that brings us closer to our culture. And it's really helped me understand my Filipino culture and identity. And it's always something that you're exploring throughout your life. I think I'm definitely at the age where I'm definitely more interested in my background and just being proud of who I am as a Filipina. And I actually don't speak really Tagalog or Ilocano because my parents were both first generation immigrants and they were told not to speak their native language because of, society and colonial mentality and English being the preferred language, which makes me really sad because I feel like my whole life I've been missing something that I never got to have, which is being able to speak my language. So luckily a lot of my collaborators know how to speak some, so I'm getting some Tagalog lessons, which has been nice. And I've been trying to learn a little bit more Tagalog and maybe some Ilocano in the future too. But I just think our whole journey of finding yourself and your ethnic identity is always something that is changing and can be explored throughout any aspect of your life and is something really important.
Okay, I can go next. Hi. Um, okay, so I'm an immigrant. I'm an immigrant from the Philippines and I moved here 2018 actually. Hasn't been that long. So ever since I've been here, I grew up having Filipino culture and Ilocano culture with me throughout my years of living in the Philippines. And basically when I was here, I still had that pride wherein I was like, I'm Filipino, and thinking that I'm Filipino, we're hardcore and we can do anything that we put our minds into. Um Basically when I was here, I was kind of scared because my culture was different with everybody else. So if nobody asked if I was Filipino, I wouldn't really tell them that I was Filipino, and then I wouldn't just like really do anything about it. But ever since I joined this group, I learned how to understand and embrace my Filipino cultures and be proud of it. So yeah.
I can go next. So pretty much, I was born here, but I was mostly raised in the Philippines. So I can kind of have a sense of both sides of America and the Philippines. And so when I was in the Philippines, it was more different. Where like I understood at a very young age. I knew a lot about my culture, And once I like came into America, it was more so like a culture shock, seeing how like everything was different. I mean, it wasn't so like how America is in the mainland, where it's usually a minority group, but more so in in Hawaii, it's not really represented, and I was kind of disappointed in that. And so, like, once I did this project, I like kind of connected more because I can speak Ilocano and Tagalog a little bit, and so like, and I don't know too much about my culture, but I know like substantial facts about it. But joining this project really drawn me into like, oh, certain questions I have about my culture, or certain questions I have about political views in the Philippines from the past. And so like doing this project kind of opened my view for a lot of things that I never really knew. And it's just a great way to like understand who we are or how we were rooted from the past. But yeah. Thank you.
Also, I was also born in the Philippines, and I grew up there for how many years? 13 years. Yeah, 13 years, and then we moved here 2017, and I really know a lot about the culture because I grew up there with all my grandparents. You know, like going to the church every Sunday, um, and all the tradition stuff. But moving here, it was really it was hard to adjust. Um, like I couldn't really speak English. I think my freshman year, and I was really shocked. Like I was like it was a little bit overwhelming, for me because like the knowledge that I have. I mean, they do teach English as a subject in the Philippines, but we never really learn how to speak it. Like we just learn about it, but not really like speak it. And so coming to Hawaii, I'm like, I don't know what to do. But then I'm just grateful that I have a lot of Filipino friends, especially in Waipa, who they made it easier for me to adjust here in Hawaii. And I'm just grateful that I never got to think that just because I went to Hawaii, I'm gonna forget who I am. But it was kind of more like um sorry, it was kind of more like being proud of who I am, like embracing it. And maybe that's why I'm here doing this project with all of these beautiful people here. um and yeah, I think Filipino culture is like really rich culture, and I'm just grateful that i'm I'm Filipino. And
So again, I'm a second generation immigrant. My parents were born in the Philippines, but they came here. Um, I was actually the first person in my mom's side to be born outside of the Philippines, which was interesting, quite interesting. I'm because I've been to the Philippines and met them a few times, but you can see the culture difference or like just the difference between me and them because I didn't know how to understand or I didn't understand how to talk Ilocano that much. But as of right now, I can understand and talk a little bit. It's still in the works though. But I've always had Filipino friends since elementary, middle school, high school. But and I've also been a part of Papalay's Filipino American Crafts Pinnacle and the wine dance for May Day. Yeah, I did that once, but I haven't been so involved with like my Filipino culture until I met this group, which is really interesting because I haven't like learned so much until like recently and now. So yeah. So I'm really grateful about being in this group.
So the way I tried to understand my Filipino culture and identity. So I was a first generation and I was born and raised here. So my family thought, it wouldn't be, it would be more convenient if we just taught you English and not your native language. And so I grew up not knowing my language, not understanding my culture that much. So I actually had a really hard time trying to adjust to like how my family did certain things. And over time we would have big parties because Filipinos are overall like, they value family and respect and all that. And so whenever we would have those parties, I felt like kind of an outcast because I didn't know what was going on, or I didn't know how to interact with everyone because they were all talking in Tagalog and socializing with each other, and I didn't know what to do. So I would just stay on the side and observe how they interact, and just staying kind of on the sideline and observing how my family does all these things helped me understand like parts of the Filipino culture, and also like the food that they would always cook. They're really, really good with hospitality and all that. And as for my identity, didn't I didn't really feel prideful about my Filipino identity. I wasn't back then, I never thought of it much. I just felt kind of neutral about it. If people were to ask me what I am, I just give a general answer and say that I'm Asian. And so in high school, that's when I met like more friends who are more in touch with the Filipino side. Like they're immigrants, they came at a younger age, and then they taught me some of those things. I went to some of my friends' houses, and I can see like the difference of how my family raised me versus how they raised them. They would always communicate with each other in their mother tongue, and I never did at my house. So I was just kind of in a bit of shock that they're so in touch with their culture and identity, and I felt so disconnected. At least now I joined this project and I'm still trying to learn how to really take more pride in my Filipino identity and culture, and I'm still on that path, but this project is really helping me get to that step. I'm really happy to be with these people, and I will pass it on to Lauren.
My experience with my Filipino culture and identity is similar to Kailee's because I'm half Japanese, hence the last name. But whenever I was hanging out with my cousins when they first came from the Philippines, I couldn't talk to them that much. They didn't know much English, and I didn't know any Filipino. And so, even though we still had fun time together, I still felt like it was a shame that I couldn't talk to them as much as I wanted to. And as for identity, I do associate a lot more with my Filipino side. However, I feel like even though I am associating with that side, it's like I'm not enough for like full Filipinos per se. So like family parties, yeah, I'm Filipino, but I can't talk to anyone. Yeah, it was a really similar experience to Kylie for me.
I will go last because I didn't feel like yet. But I was born in Hawaii, but my parents, or my dad actually, grew up in the Philippines for his childhood years. And my mom, she grew up in Hawaii, but she's really connected to her Filipino side because my family is full Filipino. But growing up, I've been around Filipino culture from whole life growing up, um, going to parties, talking to family relatives, um, even watching Filipino dramas and all that stuff with my mom and dad. But I never really embraced like learning more about my culture, like to a deeper perspective, until um, recently. So I don't really know how to speak Tagalog or Ilocano. I can understand a few phrases, but that's all. So I'm really glad I got to join this group and also take part in the Couple A's Philam Club with Caitlyn and Myan, and learn more about my culture and better. But for now, taking it like one day at a time and learning about my culture and stuff. And I'm just really glad to be around these people to help me learn more about it.
Society has kind of pushed on them because they didn't want us to be discriminated because of how society treated us. And I started with that first question, essentially because before diving into the really big questions, I feel like knowing and understanding where your ground is, especially with our Filipino culture, kind of help kind of stimulate this conversation. And the following question, and it's okay if you pass on this question, but if anyone does want to kind of answer it, I wanted to ask first, how did you kind of get to know what mental health was? And if anyone feels comfortable, of course, how did your mental health journey begin, and why is it important to you now, and why should it be important?
I don't think I ever I didn't really keep like the term mental health in my mind, but now looking back, I think a big part of mental health is doing things that you love and that are passionate about. Um, and that's like what this group and this project is to me, because not only that we're advocating for our long overdue representation, but we're forging connections and we're working to learn about ourselves and bring that to schools. And I think somehow I'm able to connect mental health to that. But like, it's always like, just thinking back on how far we've come, I've definitely grown as a person, and I'm definitely in a better place than I was before, because I think we started or at least I started this project in like sophomore year in at Punahou, and then a little like in the middle of the year I brought it to, like, we created this group. But like definitely before this project, I was like, I didn't know, I mean, I did know about my culture, but I wasn't as prideful or as knowledgeable about it. But definitely finding like this, my purpose, and having the self-acceptance has definitely helped my mental health journey, I'm sure, because I'm definitely happier, um, much more, have so much more self-worth than I did before. And I think that's important for everyone to realize, that accepting yourself and going back to your roots too is a great way to do that. Can really help with your mental journey, and surrounding yourself with people who you can connect to and can learn from. So that's what I would say. Does anyone else want to say anything for this question?
I think I can go if no one else wants to, but I'm gonna be a little general. So I would say my mental health journey began when I started thinking more about like how my family treats me and other people in my family, because that's when I really started to question, is this really right? Is this really like something that would make things a little better? But it wasn't. So um I sort of struggled with that growing up. I had like a few rough times back then, like a few years ago, a couple years ago, but I would say it's really, really important to take care of yourself, even in any sort of Asian household, because I feel like it's kind of a thing where a lot of Asian families, oh my gosh, a lot of Asian families have a thing where they compare siblings or relatives. And if, from my experience, I'm a first generation, so I grew up not understanding or speaking my mother language at all. But my other family do, because, they were born and raised in the Philippines. So sometimes I'd walk out of my room and I hear them talking in Tagalog. They would say my name and talk in a really not so good tone. So every time I would hear that, whether it's my name or someone else's name, I knew that they were not saying nice things. And so like that always like put the idea in my head, like, oh, they're not talking good about me, they're talking behind my back and kind of stuff. If they bring up multiple names in like one sentence, I feel like they're comparing us. And like because of that, and because like of the way I was kind of treated growing up, sometimes I always felt like they were really, really strict on me. And because of that, I grew up with some sort of fear that if I confront them or say anything, it's like they would kind of be like, no, I'm in the right kind of mindset. And it doesn't really help that one of my family members is like traditional, like he's really into the old tradition of the Philippines and he was a veteran in the military. This too doesn't really go so well with like the younger generation. So I feel like it's really important to take care of yourself in an Asian or any household that is strict, because if you let yourself kind of give in to that, to those assumptions that, oh, they're doing this and doing that to you, it's like you're gonna fall into a hole that's gonna become like a cycle and it's gonna be really hard to get out of. Try to like, if you don't, how do I word that, to those things and you don't, okay, as long as you try your best to not mind what's happening in the background and you focus on yourself, I feel like it'll give you an easier time to grow and find yourself rather than focusing on like what is going on behind like the toxic part of the family, whether it's from distant or close relatives. Yeah, it's really important to take care of yourself. I think that's all I have to say.
So my mental health journey kind of started when I kept asking myself, oh, I should have done this instead of this, or just like, overthinking and stuff like that. I have my highs and lows. Like progressively it'll be a lot. Sometimes it'll be about family because of Filipino toxic culture or whatever. But I've learned, like what Kailee said, I'm still trying to like figure out stuff to do on my own. Because it's kind of hard to like just go to your family for like just the simple things, because I can't really talk to them about like just general things, or else they'll say something to me that I might like not like, or they'll say something that's irrelevant, something like that. But it's like those little opinions that get to me. But again, it's a work in progress. I'm still working on it. But yeah.
Oh, do I go next? Okay, I'll go next. So the question is, how did your mental health journey begin, and why? So essentially, it started at a very, very young age where I had to grow up pretty quickly. Like I feel like a lot of us had probably went through that, maybe not, but I guess like because I'm the oldest in my family, and so like I guess like I have that responsibility amongst my siblings and my cousins because I'm the oldest, right? And so I guess like I grew up like pretty quickly, and I never really had the chance to like truly enjoy my childhood that I kind of expected it. And so I guess like throughout time, I was really more so like looked at as a young adult at a very young age. And so I didn't like that because I was still growing and all. And so um it started after like, how people say like, oh, you're getting compared by your cousins and all, or your older siblings or older cousins or cousins. And so it started at that where I thought, oh, I had that pitch perfect image of what I have to be because my relative is better at something that I'm not so good at, right? But I guess like throughout like the years as I went through high school, I didn't really care. I started to understand that, oh, that doesn't really matter too much because I am different from everyone else and I have to seek what I can do to improve my own self than rather compare myself from other people because everyone's different. And I guess like everything I thought from back then was, oh, I have to be like this one person. And now it's more so I have to improve myself not for other people but for myself because it's my own journey. I don't have to keep relying on what people keep uh like is trying to tell me. Like I'll take their advice and take it into consideration, but it's at the end of the day, will it help me or will it help them? So I had that big dilemma at one point, but now it's different. So yeah. But now it's more so like I accepted the fact that I'm not perfect, and I know a lot of people are still going through that phase where they have to be perfect in order to fit in. But I guess like now, since I'm a senior in high school and I had all these hard classes that I took, I realized I'm not the perfect student, and if I do make mistakes, that's okay. And I understand that people make mistakes, but it's really up to you to improve. And yeah, thank you.
Um, I just wanna add on to what Kylie said about because I heard that she mentioned Asian household, especially Filipino household. I just feel like mental health is a really non-existent. It's like non-existent in any Filipino household. Um, because there were a lot of days that I have to like deal with it like alone, because I just feel like telling it to my telling it to my mom isn't really gonna help, because they were raised to be like tough, like they were raised to environment that's like you need to be tough, because like life is hard. Like I heard like they were like getting water, they need to pump their water, like they don't have like any faucets around their house, so they need to, I don't know, like get the water jugs, and like early like a very early age, and so they were raised to be tough. But I just feel like a lot of Filipinos are, especially the adult ones, they think that mental health isn't really a thing, so it's really hard for us young Filipinos, especially like our generation right now, that's like dealing with a lot of mental health issues, to like to get help. And so we have to deal with it alone, because like the it's just how they think, like they think that mental health isn't really there. Like if you talk about mental health, or like for example, when I saw my mom, it's just for an example, but like I just feel like a lot of Filipino, like young Filipinos are experiencing it, that when they talk about mental health, they're just gonna ignore it. and and it's hard. So i just I just want to um show my appreciation to all of you guys who are dealing with it alone. It's really hard, and whatever it is that's like helping you, just do it, because it's life is hard, so mental health is hard. So yeah, I just want to show my appreciation to all of you guys, because mental health is really hard to it's a really hard topic, especially in a Asian, especially Filipino household. So yeah, so just take care of yourselves. It's really hard to deal with it, but we're gonna get through it. Okay.
Okay, all good. So thank you all for sharing. I think I've seen a lot of commonalities with a lot of the things that you guys expressed. So a lot of dealing with the toxic traits that we have within our families due to intergenerational trauma. And like, of course, for our parents, the most important thing for them is that we're striving for productivity all the time and trying to reach a certain goal in order to be successful in like your own lives, as well as leaving a good legacy for your family. But I think I like what Kailee said, if we start focusing more on what we want in our own lives, rather than just what our parents or our family members expect of us, I think that will leave an even bigger legacy for our families, as well as for us to be able to do what we want to do, and being sure that we're really taking care of the things that we need to do. So I think that's why it's really important for us to all set those boundaries for ourselves and for our family members and our loved ones as well, and really trying to initiate those conversations so that we can lift the stigma, as Raymart said, that to make mental health a more um, like a less stigmatized topic, if that's a problem in your household, which in my personal life it has been as well, and I can see that it may be for all of you. So I just wanted to follow up with asking, how can we initiate these conversations and set these boundaries for ourselves and our loved ones?
I can go. Okay. So About the question about like how to bring it up, like how to have a conversation with your family about this kind of stuff. Typically, sometimes we just need to have that courage to open up to our families and like tell them that we are having this kind of problem, that we are having this kind of issue in our lives, and we need somebody with us to go with it, if you know what I mean. Um, it's not really hard to open up as long as you know that they will not like think, how do you say this? Because sometimes kids nowadays or like teenagers nowadays tend to hold it in to themselves and not say it out loud just because they think that, oh, it's wrong. I don't think they need to know about this kind of stuff because it's my own life. But having the will to tell them that I'm having this issue and I'm having this problem is gonna make a difference in your life, because if anything happens, they, and if you told them that it is happening, then you have someone with you during the problem and issue. So yeah.
I agree with Jalen. Of course, it's easier said than done to just say, oh, just have an open conversation with your parents. Um, but I think something that I've definitely learned with speaking with my Filipino parents is like how you say things is so important too. Um, because there will be so many discussions turned arguments that have like affected my mental health too. But I've learned that like you have to approach things in a very like calm and measured, prepared way, um, and not try to make them seem like the bad guy, or because I don't know, I've learned that from experience. Um, because I'd always have discussions about like the issues in our world and so many of all the things that I'm learning like on social media, but and my parents are supportive of that, but sometimes we'll like come to a disagreement about something, um and then it would just like at first I wouldn't even know how to handle that. So I think just learning how to communicate with your parents and making it um just being like composed and knowing how to say things and letting them have that opportunity to be there for you is important. Um, it's kind of sad that sometimes when you're like passionate about something, or if something is important to you, then you're labeled as like emotional or sensitive. Because I've definitely struggled with that, and that's really frustrating. But sometimes the only way for things to come across to people is to explain it in a way that they can, take in. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say.
I actually had a question for everyone, and because you guys have really, um, this is a really young group, and one thing, and before we kind of like close off, is with the entire project itself, and with what you just shared with us through the beginning of this recording, what is one thing you would hope that someone can get out of this project, and especially with what you're doing? Let me know if I have to rephrase it. Also, feel free to utilize the chat.
Sorry. No, I was gonna say for this whole project, like our most important thing, like our most important goal is to help Filipino students feel seen and worthy, because we never got to have that chance as students, like in all of our years at school. And we're providing the representation that we never got as kids. And also, not only for Filipino students, but also for non-Filipino students, to learn about such a large part of our community is so important, because Filipinos, we like represent so much of our population, like 25%, a quarter of Hawaii's population is Filipino. So being able to learn about and empathize a large part of our community is so important. So education, yeah, has so much power to influence their students. And I just hope from this whole experience that other Filipino students like us are just able to learn more about our culture and to have that eye-opening feeling of like, wow, I've never gotten to learn about this until now. Like, why didn't I learn about my culture? And start asking questions of like, well, why do I feel this way? Like, why was I always told to not go out in the sun too long to get, browner? Or like, what does colonization have to do with this? Like, why are so many, you know, Filipinos like this? Or like, why did this happen in history? Um, and just also be critical of our history as well. Like, I think this whole process has definitely made me think about colonization so much more, and the effects of that, and just working to decolonize myself too. So and I also hope that it inspires other cultures to, or like other non-Filipinos, to learn more about their own culture as well and be prideful in who they are too. I think we still have a long way to go, and I just hope that this project inspires so many more people and just, brings to light representation and pride in who we are.
Like this project, like there will be people who will oppose this. There will be people who will support this, and we're doing this for the community because us as Filipinos, we didn't really have that representation starting from Hawaii. You don't really see it too much. I mean, you see a lot of Filipinos around, but you don't see a lot of Filipino studies or where you're teaching. You only see it in college. You don't see it in high school. You don't see it in middle school. You don't see it in elementary. You're never too young or you're never too old to learn your own culture or learn another person's culture. And it's a beautiful thing to understand someone's culture or perspective from what they've been through and how we are now. And I guess what we're trying to advocate with this whole project and this whole ordeal that we're doing is more so as we we as very young and men and women, we don't know all too often. We're still in the process of learning. Like we're still in that process where we're still learning and understanding our own culture through this project. And through this project, it'll open up, like what Marissa said, it'll open up like a door where, oh, I didn't know that about my culture. And we're that door to give these people opportunities to open up to their culture because you know I might know a lot and my friend might not know a lot, and it's a nice thing to share that commonality saying, oh, I'm Filipino, I know this, and you're Filipino and you don't know this. Like, we're not trying to degrade people for not knowing the culture. We're more so supporting these people to come out and like look into who we are from back then and how we could improve or how we could evolve our culture. And essentially that's what we're trying to do. And it's a really beautiful thing because you don't really see a lot of high school students wanting to advocate like learning our culture. It's not really too often that you see this, and it's a very beautiful thing that a lot of people, not a lot of people can see. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, I totally agree with what Marissa and Myan said. Basically, one of the biggest point of this project, or one of our main goal, was to let all the Filipinos know that there is no shame of being Filipino, and we need to accept our culture because we are Filipino, and we need to be proud of it. In our curriculum, the lesson identity is we is in every unit in our curriculum. So basically, us being teenagers representing Filipinos, we would like also to inspire other teenagers and Filipinos to represent our cultures and just be themselves, because some kids out there are being ashamed of being Filipino, and they're not really doing anything about it. They're just holding it in and saying, oh, yeah, I'm Filipino, but What does that have to be? I'm just Filipino. That's their mentality. But with this project, I hope other teenagers, not only teenagers, but all the Filipinos out there should know that being a Filipino is a pride. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Just to add on with what John said, identity is really like a big part of this curriculum. So we hope that they find themselves in our culture and our traditions and our Filipino identity, and we just hope that they enjoy, not just learn but enjoy our culture and embrace it. We're gonna include like a lot of activities, so we're just hoping for them to like enjoy and have a lot of fun learning and experiencing Filipino culture, because that's all about it, right? So that's
Yes, Myan, I definitely agree. It's really just a way for us to all bring our different communities together, especially with Filipinos being like a big part of our population, as all of you said. And it's also just really important for Filipinos and non-Filipinos alike to just have an outlet to express different parts of their identities that may want they may want to share um, within the school setting, but may not have a place to do so. And so I wish that I had something like this in high school. So I commended all of you for starting it now, and especially like you all are so young. You guys have such great potential for this project to go really far in the near future, and I'm really so proud of you for the work that you've done so far. So thank you all, and thank you all in this curriculum project.
Um, Essentially, what we're trying to do for this representation thing is, it's more so as representing who we are, not only as a culture, but every single Filipino, no matter if you're half, if you're 25%, or any type of percentage you're still part of the community of who we are, which is Filipinos. And I guess what we want for this representation is so that we look at each other, and no matter who we are, Filipino or not, we bond as one and we're equal essentially. I can't put it into more or less words. We're all equal no matter how much percent you are, or you're not even Filipino. We welcome everyone into this culture, and it's just a beautiful thing where you don't have to be a certain culture in order to love it. Or and with and what I want to try to say is, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, we represent us and everyone else in the world, and we're just proud of who we are. And for this project, at the end of the day, we're just proud Filipinos, and we just want to support and love our culture and ethnicity, no matter who we are and what we are. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to quickly add on to that. Um, Myan, yeah, that's right. That's what we're striving for this project. And also, it's not just Filipinos that we're representing for, it's everyone, like he said. So, with this project, we hope to inspire other communities, whether it's Asian or Brown communities, to sort of strive for their own ways to represent themselves in, um, like in education or in jobs, in like their like other platforms, whether it's on the media or some other business type of thing. We just want other communities to feel that they are just as important as any other culture that exists out there in the world. And that's also one thing that we want to accomplish with this project. It's for other cultures to feel inspired to represent themselves as much as we are with the Filipino culture.
I think that's it. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedule and you know taking this podcast. It's a beautiful thing, and it's something that you guys done for us, not only for us but so many people. And I really commend you and you both on letting us with this opportunity. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
We do have our Instagram, which is at Filipino_curriculum, where we post a lot of updates and just teach people a little bit more about what we're doing. And we also have our Student Corner page website, which explains more about our project, which is probably what you should go towards if you want to learn a lot more. We have a video there and explains more about our units and what will actually be in the curriculum and how to get involved. Our email is filipinocurriculum@gmail.com too. And our Facebook is also Filipino Curriculum. Yeah, we hope that anyone watching this, you will check us out and just know that you are worthy in your culture. And we are so excited to be working on this project, and we're happy that you got to listen and learn more about the importance of representation and empowerment and uplifting people. So yeah, thank you so much.